Hi there. Now, a question that most students who apply to universities in the US face is whether to apply in the fall term or in the spring term. And this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. My name is Anand Venkatesan. I'm the founder and mentor of this platform called mentorscapital.com. And today we're going to consider this burning issue of whether you should choose the fall intake or the spring intake for your application to a university abroad. Let's start with the most basic question, which is what exactly is the difference between the fall and the spring term. Well, consider that the fall and spring term actually talk about the system of education in the US, much like back in India, where you have odd and even semesters that most graduation programs have. In the US, it's a system of fall terms followed by spring terms that most universities offer. Right now, remember, this means that the fall term spans from the months of August all the way till December, whereas the spring terms start in January and go on till the month of May. Right, there's a obviously a summer break in between the two, but these are the two terms into which an entire academic year is divided into. Right, and keep in mind that while there are these two terms, not all universities in the US offer admissions during both terms, which means that it depends on the university that you're applying to. It depends on the program specific degree that you're applying for, and whether that degree offers both a fall intake as well as a spring intake. All right, let's start with the fall term, the fall intake, and discuss what are the advantages and disadvantages, also known as the pros and the cons. Well, the most obvious pros for the fall term is that, well, it is the most popular intake. All universities in the US tend to open admissions during the fall term, and so it is the most popular intake. It also happens to be the time when students from the previous year graduate, so that opens up a lot of seats, and so not only is it a popular intake, it's also one which offers greater number of seats. Right, now this also means that since a lot of students graduate just before the fall term, it also means that there is renewed funding available. There are greater opportunities for scholarships. It also means that there are more opportunities to avail of in-campus housing or in-campus jobs, and it also means that, well, there are greater opportunities for research, because, well, one of the reasons why you'd prefer to go study in the US is to study your program and also conduct some research on the side in order to gain some specialization. So any sort of research that you're looking to conduct or be part of is more likely to be during the fall term. If you seek application admission during the fall term, you have more opportunities for research. And finally, well, it's simply a matter of convenience. Since the fall term begins in August, applying for the fall term means that you really don't waste any time. If you're an Indian student applying to the US, well, chances are that if you get admission into the fall term, you start your bachelor's degree right after your school finishes, right? And in case if it's the master's program that you're applying for, then it means that you're going to start your master's program right after your bachelor's program gets completed, right? So there's literally no loss in time, and so it's very, very, very convenient for you. So those are the advantages of going for the fall intake. What about the disadvantages? What about the cons? Well, there are very few cons. The major con would be that since it is the more popular intake, it also sees the most number of applications, right? So there is greater competition for all the available seats, and so you might consider that as a slight disadvantage. Most programs will see oversubscription in terms of applications, and there's greater competition for the seats that are available. And this competition is not just for the admission, it's also for things like scholarships, research, housing, and much more, right? So that's probably one reason why you should reconsider applying for the fall term. However, bear in mind that going for the spring term depends on the program and the university that you're applying for, whether it does have a spring intake or not. So let's talk about the spring intake. The pros or the advantages of the spring intake are fairly obvious. Number one, it is the less popular intake, which means that it sees fewer applicants, and so that means less competition for you. If you believe that you have a strong case to get admission, then applying in the spring term means that you're competing against fewer applicants, and the chances of you getting through are a lot higher in the spring term. It's also a great option if you happen to have missed a few deadlines. If by any chance you start researching late, and you don't have time in your hand to apply in time, then maybe consider going for the spring intake. It's also a great option. Well, if you believe that you can add more things to your profile, more avail of maybe things like internships or projects, and strengthen your profile before applying to the university in the spring term, right? And finally, because you're applying in the spring, when you're applying in the spring term, you have more time in your hand. Well, you can also take more time in preparing for standardized tests like the GMAT, GRE, and so on and so forth, or maybe language tests like IELTS or TOEFL. So pretty much major advantage of the spring term is that it gives you more time to take standardized tests, to strengthen your application, to work on your essays, and finally apply in a term which is less competitive, right? The disadvantages, well, the cons of applying in the spring intake are that, well, it's not really offered by most universities, right? So you need to be very, very careful in picking which universities, which programs have a spring intake, and hence could be ones that you could be targeting. It also means that while there is less competition, there are also fewer seats available. There are fewer opportunities for, say, things like scholarships or housing that you can avail of. So it just makes things a little harder for you in terms of funding, in terms of the opportunities that you have, right? So that's something that you need to keep in mind in case you're thinking about the spring intake. So what does that mean for you as an applicant? Should you go for a fall intake or the spring intake? And how do you go about deciding? Well, the verdict is that in most cases, prefer to go for the fall intake, quite simply because it is the most popular. It is the bigger intake in terms of number of seats available. It also gives you more opportunities. So in case you're somebody who wishes to avail of scholarship, if you're somebody who wishes to go in for housing in campus, or look at on-campus jobs, or even avail of research opportunities on campus, then the fall intake is the one that you should take more seriously. And I think the allied advantage is also that since it's the bigger intake and it's the start of the new graduation year, activities such as orientation and student affairs tend to be a lot more active during the fall term. So that's also a very, very good reason why you should prefer to go in for the fall intake. On the other hand, choose the spring intake if, well, you happen to miss some deadlines, if you happen to decide late and don't have enough time to build strong applications. Choose the spring intake. Alternatively, if you're somebody who's working and needs more time to complete your standardized tests, or just wish to strengthen your profile with a few more months of work experience that you believe can add strength and credibility to your application, then choose the spring intake. Well, ideally, like I said, it's only a question of time. If you have the luxury of time and you are gainfully employed, well, choosing the spring intake might be a smart, better option for you, right? So those are reasons why you should choose either of the two intakes. Well, how can we help? Well, we at Mentors Capital, we have a large network of mentors across the globe, more so in the US than anywhere else. And these are mentors who can really give you crucial advice, not just on which term to choose, but also to how to tailor your applications, how to present a narrative that the university and the admissions committee can look on favorably, and get that coveted admit, get that coveted scholarship from a university program that you so desire, right? All you need to do is click on the link in the description and reach out to us. Give us a shout if you have any queries, or do take a look at the list of mentors that we have, and let us know if you would like to contact any of those mentors, and we'll get you set up as soon as we can, right? Well, I hope this was meaningful for all of you. Do give me a thumbs up sign if you like what this video was about. If you have any queries that you would like me to answer, do comment on this video. I wish you all the very best and see you in my next video.